activated charcoal filters, one of the new alternatives in-house. These are new, and when I said earlier, becoming a standard of care and talking and trying to get them in-house for every practice, I hope I can convince you why. And let's see if I can. So, recommendation number one, this is verbatim on in-house today. Put up on your iPad, or it's right here though as well. Flush and compare the machine per manufacturer's recommendations, and varies. Some say 10 minutes, some say 90 minutes. I actually had the privilege last month in Las Vegas at the ANA meeting talking to a guy from Draeger, and I asked him, what are your recommendations for prepping anesthesia machine for a malignant hyperthermia in a susceptible patient? And he said, well, we don't talk about that. He is a smart man. I mean, who would want to talk about malignant? You can my class of litigious, he's implicating himself. So I imagine GE Omega would probably do the same. But it's funny, I point that out just kind of tongue-in-cheek that you flush according to the manufacturer's guidelines, which you go look at the guidelines, and there may be some that exist, I just haven't seen them, and Draeger doesn't have them. But flush it, 10 to 90 minutes, depending on which one you read. Disconnect your vaporizers. If you have a unit that you can't unscrew them for, like with narcomeds, tape them off, make sure you don't use them. We put a new breathing circuit on, replace your CO2 absorbent. This is the big one, and this is good. Keep fresh gas flow at 10 liters per minute to avoid the rebound phenomenon. We'll talk about that later on. But the old guidelines said flush it for 20 minutes. After you've replaced everything, you can go to a working flow, which is 2 to 3 liters per minute. Well, you can't. That's what we did in my first case. We flushed it overnight. We went to 2 liters per minute, and she did fine. We really got lucky. They recommend 10 liters per minute now because of the study done in anesthesia and analgesia by Bergenheyer and associates, showing that when you lower your fresh gas flow to under 10 liters per minute, you get the surge in volatile anesthetic, which is way over 5 parts per minute. Back up real quick. I think I say this later on. One reason you do get that surge is due to the reservoir in your newer anesthesia machines. Okay, the new anesthesia machines on one hand are great. We have all kinds of different modes of ventilation. SIMV, no, I do not use that. But SIMV, PSV Pro, et cetera, the spirometry. Those are good things. The bad things about the newer anesthesia machines, in order to get what that provides us, those benefits, we have given up some of the good things of the older anesthesia machines, which perhaps the old guidelines used to work, which is we have rubber, we have plastic, we have other elements, non-metallic elements that are a reservoir for volatile anesthetics. And that reservoir, when you lower that flow to under 10 liters per minute, bam, you have a surge pretty much instantaneously. And I don't want my patient who's susceptible, whose father and uncle had a positive caffeine or halothane caffeine contracture test exposed to over 5 parts. Recommendation 2, and since there's 4, you do not have to use all 4 of these. You can use one or the other. And you use recommendation 1, that's fine. Or if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to give 10 liters per minute, if you think it's unsafe, possibly could cool your patient down, may have other issues, maybe don't do it. I don't want to give that high fresh gas flow if I don't have to. So I would probably choose this if I had this in my facility. Put these in spectrum. These are your malignant. These are your activated charcoal filters. Okay, they're orange now, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. But they go in your inspiratory and your expiratory lid, and in between the machine and the circuit. They are plug and play. You put them on, you put the circuit on, you go. And in-house says to flush it for 10 minutes, or they don't say to flush it for 10 minutes, they say within 10 minutes, your level of volatile anesthetic will be negligible and safe. What I will show you is that you put them on, and at at the very longest amount of time, it's 90 seconds. The literature shows it's a minute. So what does that mean? You put these on. You turn on your oxygen at 10 liters per minute in 60 seconds. I don't care who, if you may have had malignant hyperthermia in the past, you're not going to have it today because these things work that well. And to me, that's another, if I'm managing an OR environment, that's important to me because I didn't have time to prep for this emergent case that just got added on at 3 in the afternoon. And I don't have option 3, which is a dedicated anesthesia machine for that emergent 3 o'clock black chole that we don't know has malignant hyperthermia. I can put these on and in 60 seconds. I can do that case safely for $76, because that's what they cost. I'll go into that later. Just to disclose, I don't sell these things. I'm just telling you that when you look at the cost of the Intralink, it's quite expensive, at least $3,000 for 30 months. And all the associated costs that you have to give the Intralink, the manpower, the ICU, the other treatment modalities. And again, I'm emphasizing treatment because you're now treating something that could have been prevented. That's quite expensive compared to a $76 pair of filters that prevent something. Or you can do option 3, have that machine. I haven't priced one of these out ever, or lately, but I hear they're quite expensive, approaching $100,000. I hear some are $60,000. That may not be feasible for every place that gives an anesthetic. I have actually talked to people that last month that they actually do have a machine that is dedicated for a malignant hyperthermia susceptible patient. I thought that was, I had never heard of that. I heard it multiple times a month ago. So if you have that luxury, well, that'd probably be the best bet. Make sure it's regular maintained and safe check. If you don't have that, you could use an ICU ventilator that's never been exposed to a volatile anesthetic. Do you want to use an ICU ventilator than a general anesthetic? 2, are you sure it's never been exposed to a volatile anesthetic? Has that ventilator never had a patient? Have they never received in that ICU a patient who's come back paralyzed and just he's going to sleep over the night, comfortable, wake up, change shift? How do you know there's no soluble? Or how do you know there is no volatile anesthetic in that ICU ventilator? You don't. So our textbook guidelines, again, they are outdated. Summarized, they say flush for 10 to 90 minutes. It's very manufacturer specific. Don't use any triggering agents, and if you do that, you will have a clean anesthetic, defined as under 5 parts per million. The flaws in those old guidelines is that rebound phenomenon that we've discussed already. When the fresh gas flow is under 10 liters per minute, you get a surge in your volatile anesthetic. Way over 5 parts per million, which is the consensus.